Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. This is the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner. That's Corey Tackman. Corey, we are back.
Hallelujah. Look at us roll. How are you, CJ?
Good. There is a big hole right now in my heart. I want to say, like, just a big need for high school sports, and I've kind of been out of the mix. So I'm ready to get back into it. I am ready to start calling games again, which of course high school softball playoffs are starting today. Yep. And we don't have any games on the broadcast schedule tonight, but we do have some coming up over the next week. We will have plenty of them. I'm ready to get back into the mix, Corey. I'm going to have you fill me in on what's been going on because I've been pretty busy over the last 4 weeks. So we're going to talk about that. We're also just going to look at brackets and go over some matchups and things like that. But first, Corey, we got to talk about the good folks at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
Indeed we do, and sweet deals are on the menu at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Get a free small cactus bread when you place an online order of $25 or more. Just add a small cactus bread from the deals page, and the total is automatically adjusted. It's as easy as pie, as easy as a dessert pizza pie. Order online today. Treat yourself to a little extra sweetness, a free small cactus bread with your online order of $25 or more from the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in beautiful downtown Wadena.
Okay, Corey, fill me in. What's been going on in the world of Central Minnesota high school sports? All of a sudden, by the time I left, like, people were just starting to get games out. The weather was finally turning a corner. And now that I'm back, it's like playoff season, which is exactly how spring sports go. You blink and all of a sudden you're in tournament time. Yeah. So where are we at? What are some things? Catch me up. What's been happening while I've been gone?
The first thing is you mentioned right before you left that the weather was just starting to turn. It never turned. It stayed windy and cold up until I think next week. I had two that I can think of, like, nice days for games. And they were both Wadena Deer Creek softball, maybe like week 2 of your leave, but the wind was still blowing 25 miles an hour, pretty steady that entire game. And then the other was last Wednesday afternoon. Wadena Deer Creek softball played a 2:00 game against Park Rapids area. And there was a little wind that would gust through from time to time, but it was like sunny and mid-70s. It was beautiful. So the first story of the spring is very windy, very dusty, and generally speaking, quite cool. That was the first thing. Other than that, this will come as no surprise to you. We've got some pretty good baseball and softball in Central Minnesota again this year. And I'm just going to give you highlight some of those teams that are standing out. I'm going to talk about baseball first, so we can end on softball and get into their playoffs. But there are some teams of note around the region in baseball who have been particularly good, and they're going to be teams that we're going to keep an eye out on. First of all, in Section 6A, Parkers Prairie Panthers baseball is very, very good again this year.
True.
Conference champions for, I think, the 3rd season in a row. They've got Trevor Rounds, who's going to play in an all-star game and represent like the northern half of the state. They are one of the favorites in the entire class yet again, let alone in their section. Of course, as we know, Section 6A loaded top to bottom, both sides of the bracket, or the full bracket. Now I can't remember baseball. I don't think baseball splits into subsections anymore. Either way, the point is Parkers Prairie baseball is a heavy favorite there. If you want to jump up to 8AA, the Perham Yellow Jackets have been effectively, depending on rankings and polls, like a top 2 team in the entire state. I think if you look at QRF, St. Cloud Cathedral is the number 1 team in 2A baseball, but the Yellow Jackets on all the other like coaches polls, whatever, the Yellow Jackets have been right there in that entire mix. So they are very good. If you want to move to 6AA, move east a little bit. Staples-Motley is having a really nice season. I expect them to make a pretty large impact. They are in that same section. Of course, CJ is St. Cloud Cathedral, and 6AA baseball is loaded. As we know, that's just one of the premier sections in the state when it comes to 2A baseball. The most exciting class, I think, as far as what we cover, though, is Section 5A baseball, because the Sebeka Trojans are awesome. I think their only 2 losses this year are to Parkers Prairie. But it's also the deepest, and it's going to be teams kind of from this half who I think are the scariest. We're talking about Sebeka Trojans, the New York Mills Eagles, and every single one of the guys in that order can hit. Was that come as a surprise to you that the Eagles are good at baseball again?
No, not at all.
And then I think Frazee is going to be right there in the mix. Walker Hackensack Akeley's on the other side. I expect to see good things from them coming out of that other half. But I think 5A is as deep as it's ever been. And this hasn't always been true, and I want to say this with as much respect as possible. But Section 5A has not always been the most competitive when it comes to getting ready for state tournament time. And I think if you look at, in particular, Sebeka and New York Mills, if they will be ready to represent that section at a pretty high level. There, it's the top. The top heavy portion of that section is pretty good. Is pretty good. So those are kind of my baseball teams. Is anything there? Does that like strikes you, or anything that you've noticed from a distance while you've been out?
No, I think that all makes sense. That all tracks with everything that's kind of been slowly put out there, slowly kind of made its way into my attention. It's really fascinating. I think that 5A1 bracket always is for baseball. And yeah, to see kind of more teams in that mix will be really, really fun come that tournament time. So that obviously starts next week. We'll be in the thick of it. As we were talking off air, we are certainly going to be making a lot of trips to Piers over the next couple weeks, as that's where they typically do those neutral site games.
Well, and as you know, like, we've had teams come out of Section 5A before who have made every intention, is very publicly like, we are not here to win the conference, but the section is gettable. And whatever, that's awesome. That's great, because the Park Region Conference is so darn competitive every single year that now the team in Section 5 isn't going to win the PRC, but like Sebeka was right there. Mm-hmm. And they were right there in the mix. So just as it's nice to see that, and you're gonna get a hardy team out of Section 5 this year. Let's move to softball, because their playoffs, like you mentioned, actually get underway today. Across, in particular, Section 5A, Section 6A, 6AA, and 8AA. I have 4 teams written down. I think I got them all. But let's just start Section 5A softball. Sebeka Trojans. Again, could you have guessed that the Sebeka Trojans would be good at softball? Because they are. They're very good at softball. So it's a good spring there in Trojan country for the Sebeka Trojans, baseball and softball wise. In Section 6A, again, you're going to hear some familiar teams. Parkers Prairie is the 2 seed. New York Mills, I think, is the 5 seed. So there's some, New York Mills, of course, a stalwart in that section. Parkers Prairie is having a really nice year. Swanville is the top team, by the way, in that section for softball. And then Wadena Deer Creek in 8AA softball is having a very stellar year once again. We saw their game, CJ, last week against Park Rapids area, and the Panthers are the 5. So it's looking like probably that game was on Wednesday, one of the nice weather games. Like, probably that Wadena Deer Creek and Park Rapids area will play each other again, a quick turnaround come these playoffs. There seems to be, I think, 3 tiers in 8AA softball. There is Holly, DGF, and Roseau, not necessarily in that order, who all have QRFs of let's just say 107, give or take.
Yep.
Right. That one or two as of a week ago, less than a week ago, there was like between 106 and 109 were those three teams QRFs. Wadena Deer Creek was in the second tier, kind of all by itself, with the QRF of just shy of 90. And then it was Park Rapids area and one other team, forgive me, I can't remember who it is, who were in the high 60s, near 70 QRF. So there's 5 teams who I would say all feel like could potentially be in the mix. But it's a really deep 8AA sort of softball tournament. Once again, Wadena Deer Creek's had some stellar teams over the years. I would say this team is as good of a team as you or I have seen over those years. They've got unbelievable senior leadership. They hit the ball really well. Their pitching is as good as it's ever been. I'm excited to see what comes out of 8AA, because whoever comes out of it is going to have earned it. Yeah,
exactly. And I think too, when you look at, softball is just always super competitive, especially in that 8AA. It's going to be a really fun section to get to look at how that shakes out. I know we've followed a lot of Wadena Deer Creek over the last few years. I know that obviously they've ran into those DGFs and Rosos and all those schools and Hollies over the years. So to see how this shakes out is going to be fascinating. Now, they play Crookston today. If they win, and they're the high seed, so let's assume it goes to chalk. Let's assume the other game goes to chalk around them. They could have a matchup with Park Rapids area tomorrow afternoon in Wadena. It would be a 4:45 pregame, a 5 o'clock first pitch, and we would have that on the Superstation K106. Again, if that game goes to chalk, that looks like where we're going to be at for the broadcast schedule. Superstation K106, 105.9 FM, streaming online at wadenaradio.com, the Superstation K106 mobile app. And, you talk about those tiers of teams, and to see those two teams go at it right away in that section tournament, just really, really fun.
Yeah, and of course, we always have to disclaimer this. We don't mean if we didn't say your team name or anything like that, we didn't mean to leave you off the table. These are just some of the teams that came to our mind and are in those like top 4 or 5 seeds within their respective section. And we just are very blessed to have good baseball and softball every year in this part of the state. And it makes it stressful for us as a radio station, because unfortunately we can't cover everybody every single time. And there will be somebody who wins that maybe as far as seedings go wasn't expected. And there will be somebody who loses who, as far as seedings go, wasn't necessarily expected. And it turns into, I don't know how you felt, but I always felt like I felt like I was apologizing all playoffs long, especially in spring playoffs, to teams' fans, and be like, sorry, you weren't supposed to win. And here you are 2 games later still winning. Or sorry, we were going to cover you, but your team lost. It just is a weird, this is and there
are so many games that happen. Yeah. And it's so rapid fire.
Consolidated this playoff time. And I don't know if you know this, the weather's crummy today and it's going to be crummy tonight. And it's going to be like a high of 50 tomorrow. And we have a frost warning for tomorrow night. It just doesn't ever make sense. Why would it?
Right. Exactly. So that's what we're dealing with on our end. But the good news is we get to watch a lot of great baseball, watch a lot of great softball over the course of the next couple weeks. And with playoff season coming up, that's going to be great. Just want to go over a few matchups here as we take a look at the 5A softball bracket. Again, Sebeka is playing today at 4 o'clock. They will take on the winner of Bertha Hewitt Verndale or Pine River Bacchus. If they win, they would play on Thursday. To look at some other ones in that Section 5A softball bracket, that's pretty much it for our local teams. Walker Hackensack Akeley does play today. They are playing at Nevis against Hill City Northland. If they win, they would take on the winner of Nevis or McGregor. So that's where things look at for them. If we go to the 6A bracket, Swanville, the 1 seed, as Corey mentioned, they're going to play on Thursday against either Brandon Evansville or Rothsay. New York Mills is taking on Ashby tomorrow. Mills, the 5 seed, Ashby, the 12. Winner of that game will play in Swanville on Thursday at 3 o'clock against the winner of Border West or Hancock. Browerville plays tomorrow. They're the host seed against Pelican Rapids. If they win, they would play in Minnewaska area on Thursday at 3 o'clock against West Central area. Upsala taking on Long Prairie Gray Eagle tomorrow in Upsala at 5 o'clock. Winner goes to Minnewaska to take on Parkers Prairie at 3 o'clock on Thursday. And as Corey mentioned, a nice season for those Panthers. As we're looking in Section 6AA, Staples-Motley today is traveling down to Holdingford. That's a 4 o'clock first pitch there for them. Pequot Lakes hosting Albany as well at 4 o'clock. Looking into Section 8AA, obviously we going to talk a lot about how things are shaken up with Wadena Deer Creek and with Park Rapids area. The Panthers are taking on East Grand Forks today. On other parts of the bracket, on the other end, DGF is hosting Monaga today. DGF, the 2 seed, Monaga, the 15. That's a 4 o'clock first pitch in Glendon. Also, Thief River Falls hosting Ottertail Central, 5 o'clock first pitch there. 7-seeded Prowlers, 10th-seeded Bulldogs. Hawley hosting Frazee, 3-seeded Hawley, 14-seeded Frazee Hornets, 4 o'clock first pitch there as well. Breckenridge Wahpeton, the 6th seed, taking on the 11th-seeded Perham. That's at 4 o'clock today in Breckenridge. And that's another interesting one, too. Breckenridge, normally on their own as the Cowgirls, now has combined with Wahpeton to be the Breck Wap. I believe it's a Storm, right, Corey?
It is the Storm. Weirdly, I in that matchup, I did get to see both of those teams play this spring. The Breckenridge Wahpeton Storm played in what was the coldest afternoon and evening of softball I've ever sat through in my entire life. I've just never been more chilled to the bone. That team can really hit the ball. 1 through 9, they get their licks in. It's really, really fun to watch. And then I saw the Yellow Jackets play on the first kind of nice weather day that I talked about earlier in the show. So Heart of Lakes Conference foes there, so they're going to be very familiar with each other. I would suspect there's going to be some runs scored in that game.
Maybe. Just maybe. All right, Corey, I feel all caught up. I think we're ready to roll. We'll have another morning sports desk tomorrow talking about that playoff game that we're going to cover. We're going to have some playoff game on the air, so we will be there. We will be covering stuff. So make sure you watch the Morning Sports Desk on YouTube, listen wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be here to talk about that game tomorrow. We're also going to talk about the Minnesota Twins because we have to, kind of, I guess.
No, we didn't.
We'll do a Timberwolves debriefing, a Wild debriefing, and some news with the Minnesota Vikings coming up this week as well. A lot of things. We got to catch back up in all of those, but we'll space it out throughout the week. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Morning Sports Desk powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. See you.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.